channel. Today I'm very excited to talk about 10 lessons that I've learned in 2022. And these lessons may have been accumulative of events. I feel like it's not just this year, but it's something that have resonated or became more solid this year and throughout everything that I've been through within the past couple of years. It's been lessons that I feel like maybe I could have learned better or learned more, but I feel like it's the perfect time for me to actually solidify it and make it into a lesson that I would really hope that you can take something away from it. And I feel like it's something that I would take on to my next year and not just throw it away and kind of like take on new lessons, because at the end of the day, lessons are things that I feel like we live for. And I feel like every experience in our life brings something new to our existence and to our own wisdom and things that we learned that we feel like we wish we knew sooner. But I feel like at the end of the day, if you learn a lesson, it's a privilege, and it's a very time is of the essence. So I feel like for us to know things at a very early stage in our life, it is very valuable. So without further ado, please allow me to share 10 lessons that I've learned this year, and please let me know what resonated more with you and what are lessons that you've learned as well throughout the year. So the first lesson I learned this year is that the moment you choose yourself is the real moment you start sensing freedom. Freedom doesn't just come overnight, but I feel like the moment you start choosing yourself over others and choosing your own purpose and living your own values and having to navigate your own self and discovering yourself, you start sensing a different kind of freedom. And that's when things don't bother you anymore. For little situations don't really, get to your nerves, or situations don't make you very pissed off. And that's when you start living your purpose, because you live every day to see what values can you really hone on, what values and skills can you develop. So I feel like this lesson is a big one for me, because I feel like throughout time I just didn't know when is the right time to choose myself over others. But I feel like even throughout the pandemic, choosing myself means that I just remind myself of what is my purpose, why am I doing the thing that I'm doing, so that way it actually I develop more love for it, and gives me more patience and makes me enjoy the process in the long run. The second lesson I learned this year, which is a very important one, is to validate myself. Validating myself is a lesson that I learned that helped me understand better that the more I validated myself, and I saw it actually reflects on the first lesson that I just spoke about, but validating yourself makes you stop wanting or needing it from others. You start seeing things in yourself without thinking that if someone else doesn't really remind you that that is really who you are, then you're just not going to believe it. So I feel like validating yourself is very important, because at the end of the day, we can't always seek it from others. People are not always going to be on our side, and people may see things but may not speak about it. So I feel like we're in a time that we need to start validating ourselves without needing it from others, because we just really don't know you don't really know what you really are unless you start seeing yourself from a deeper perspective. So I feel like this lesson is really important, and it's something that I really want, and I hope it doesn't go away from me, because I feel like throughout time my confidence has been on a roller coaster, but the moment I started validating myself, it really changed my life completely. The third lesson that I learned this year, which is also very important, is that taking breaks is absolutely needed. I feel like throughout my years, I felt like my whole time need to be spent doing things, progressing, schoolwork, job, career wise, but I feel like taking breaks in the middle helps you reset and actually help you navigate throughout where did you reach, how what is your next step. It just helps you be able to measure how far you've come, and it helps you really understand better what can you do better to make it faster, what can you do to slow down, take your time with it. So I feel like just reflecting and giving yourself that time to actually break through is very important. So taking a break really helps you reset your mind, helps you reset your whole idea of what you're doing. Is very important in time to take a break. So I really hope that in the next year and the end of this year, you would be taking breaks. And I'm not talking about just throughout your day or I'm just talking about whenever you feel like you need a break, your body, you need to listen to it more often. I feel like it's very important for us not to like collapse and break down. It's very important for you to reset. The first lesson I learned this year is very, very critical for you to be more productive. I feel like this one is, I know that for me came later on in my life, but it's cooking in advance. Cooking in advance really helped me save time. It saves me stress. I don't have to worry about coming hungry and having to cook, making a mess, making a big, like not being able to multitask, cooking just for the moment. So what I started to do is actually I cook in advance for the next day, so that when I'm actually hungry and I come back, I have already something cooked. So I feel like that helps me when I cook and I'm not hungry. It helps me focus more, and I'm able to multitask and cook two things at once, one in the oven, one in the stove. And it just helps me be more organized, because when you're hungry, like you just want to eat, you mess up the spices, you make a mess, and it just ends up stressing you out even more. So your energy itself, like after you eat, it's just gonna be very low. So I feel like cooking in advance helps you really like get ahead of yourself and be more organized and actually be able to plan your meals right. The fifth one on my list is the power of listening to podcasts whenever your ears are free. Whenever your ears are free, but at the same time you're able to listen. So for example, when you're cooking, when you're walking, even working out, sometimes I feel like it could be a little bit extreme when you're working out because you're just too focused on what you're doing, but it's okay. Whenever you feel the time, even in the shower, sometimes I listen to podcasts. I feel like it's very, very productive, and we really underestimate the power of listening to podcasts. Like the things that I learned through podcasts have really changed my life. And it's very important because you get to actually reflect while, I feel like I'm not wasting my time. I am able to multitask. When I'm cooking and I spend an hour in the kitchen, I'm listening to a podcast or 2 or 3. Like I've learned a lot. Like my brain is actually like listening. Sometimes it's okay, don't get me wrong, to just not do anything or just like reflect while doing these things. And different people work, like their bodies work differently, so some people really need that focus completely. But I feel like if you do have that spare time when you're walking, listen to podcasts. And I really recommend different podcasts that you can look at in things that are particular interest to you, and just being able to learn at these times really fills in the gaps of thinking that you should be doing something else. The next one on my list is very important, and I feel like it just took me so long to actually get to this point, but it's actually giving yourself the chance to move on, whether it's from a failed relationship, a failed friendship, whatever it is. I feel like giving yourself the chance to move on is very, very essential, because I feel like we can never fully heal alone. Yes, we can reset, we can reflect, we can become happier with ourselves, but I feel like when you get the opportunity to give yourself a chance to move on, do it. Because at the end of the day, I feel like from my own experience, like when you get the same feeling from whatever next relationship or next friendship, it really it kind of like replaces that hurt. You feel like you start to heal more the moment you start to feel like, oh, I'm getting the same feeling even better. Because oftentimes when we lose a relationship or we lose a friendship, we always think that this is it. This is where it ends. I'm never going to get this feeling again. But the moment you allow yourself to move on and you actually get that feeling again, you're just like, I'm worth it. Why am I even stuck upon like thinking about the past when I'm here in the present and I'm getting the same love and even more? So giving yourself a chance to move on is very important. And I believe that you should give yourself time to heal as well, but don't prolong it to the point that you're just stuck there thinking that your life is just never going to change that way. The seventh lesson I learned in 2022, which is something that took me years to really understand, but you need to believe in your mind that not everyone is against you. Like if you start taking it in a perspective that maybe that person is having a bad day, maybe they're just envious of something that they're lacking, maybe they're just, they're having a situation where it's just reminding them of that. So you're reminding them of that situation. So the reason I say don't think that everyone is against you is because the moment you think people are against you, you're going to start doubting yourself in ways that you don't really need. And I feel like most of the time, it's not real. Like it's not even existent. It's not you, it's them. So start believing that that person is just having a bad day. Like, they're not against you. There's nothing to be against you for. So start believing in yourself more, and don't give yourself the opportunity or the doubt that is created when you start thinking people are against you. The next one is also related to the 7th lesson that I learned, which is actually a lot of things are in our head. And I feel like the need to understand that things are in our head is very important to deactivate that feeling, because a lot of times we often listen to the voices in our head, and it creates this big chaotic like mess of like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why today? Why not like, next year? Like, why is this? You always question yourself and things that you really don't have the answer to. And I feel like just believing that it's in your head actually helps deactivate it. That's how you start by actually deactivating those thoughts, is by believing that this could just be in your head, that you believe that, that's not you. These are just thoughts. And just listening to these thoughts, not like limiting them or crossing them over, it just helps deactivate it. So I feel like at the end of the day, we need to understand that sometimes things are not realistic. They're just in our head. The 9th lesson, and it's one of the most like highlighted ones, is that you need to enjoy your life more often. Like, don't stress too much. Stressing shortens your life. And I feel like at the end of the day, when you stress a lot, you're really not enjoying the simple things in life. And I feel like for us to really enjoy simple things in life, we need to really actually know how to enjoy life. And for you to enjoy it, it doesn't mean that don't take things seriously, but don't take them too seriously to the point that you forget that life is simple. Life is actually simple. If you go back in time and see how simple life is and how people are actually happier with simple life, you would appreciate and be more grateful for the opportunities that you have. You don't need to always stress and, take life too seriously. It's gonna end one day. So at the end of the day, I feel like if you're living your purpose, if you're doing the things you like, if you're doing acts of service, because you feel like this is something that fulfills your soul and makes you a happier person, then I believe that you would enjoy life more often. So don't stress too much. And this is a very important one. And I think that every year we should reflect on that. The last one on my list is, if someone is showing you love, regardless of your past, forget about your past relationships or friendships. If someone is showing you love, allow them to give you that love. The first thing you need to do is actually understand and make yourself believe that you deserve that love. Because at the end of the day, it's not fair for us to really block people off our lives, because we've been through situations. And that's where it starts. When you start loving yourself more, you're going to appreciate and understand, okay, this person is giving me the love that I deserve, because I know I love myself and I know that I'm worthy of that. So don't block yourself, and don't approach it with a shallow mentality of, oh, this isn't just too good to be true. There's no such thing as too good to be true. If you deserve it and you do, allow yourself to actually accept it, because the moment you start accepting it, you start loving yourself even more, because you're actually allowing the universe to give you what you really deserve. So don't make a pros and cons list of what are the things you can sacrifice, but what are the values that you really can't find. If you have someone that really loves you, but you think, oh, you're a bit skeptical about them because maybe you're not attracted to them in a specific way, you need to start understanding that no one is perfect, and that you need to choose your battles. You need to choose what you really want, and something that is very rare to find, and sacrifice the shallow things, because at the end of the day, you're not going to find someone perfect. We're not perfect, so why are we expecting perfection? At the end of the day, just understand that if there's love out there, receive it. If you block it, you're blocking yourself from loving yourself. So I just think that is a very important point. And there's abundance, and there's very much like scarcity of love out there. Just don't block it. The moment you block it, you're really not allowing yourself to see what's really true out there for you. So that would be the end of my list. I really hope you learned a little bit from my lessons, and please let me know what lessons you've learned this year or what resonated with you most. And I really wish everyone a happy new year, and I would see you on my next video.